We're now live.
Okay, thanks, Kayla. So I'd like to welcome everybody to the AGM for the Creemore BIA. Today is January 25th, and it's just about 10 after 7. We're hoping some more members will join us, but as we know, sometimes it's hard to get away. So hopefully lots of people will be able to watch this video later on or in the next few days to really catch up on everything that's going on. So we have a pretty great agenda for you tonight. What we'd like to do first, if the agenda, if you're not familiar with how BIA meetings run, or you haven't been to a lot of our meetings before, the agendas that look like this are posted up on clearview.ca under committees, under BIA. You'll find a calendar there, and each week we post up an agenda, or sorry, each month with everything that we're going to be talking about in the meeting. And so what we do is go through an approval of the agenda. And at this point, if anybody has anything they'd like to add to the agenda, this is the point where we can make an amendment. So what I'd like to do is ask somebody to make a motion to approve tonight's agenda. I can read it for you. Be it resolved that the Creemore Business Improvement Area Management Board, I should probably say members, hereby approve the agenda dated January 25th, 2022 as presented.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, and thank you. And it looks like John's going to second the motion. Thank you very much. If anybody has no amendments to tonight's agenda, we can vote. And all in favor of approving tonight's agenda, you can just raise your hand or say yes if your camera's off. Okay, so we've got a majority there, so the motion is carried. Thank you very much. Okay, so now we get to number 3 on our tonight's agenda, which is the disclosure of disqualifying interest and the nature thereof. So in each meeting, we go through a process where we make sure, and we are very careful about this, about conflict of interest. If anybody feels they have a conflict of interest that they would like to declare, now's the moment to do it. And if in fact you feel later on that there's a conflict of interest, we often say you're allowed to declare it at any time throughout the meeting. And generally what we do is ask you to turn off the video, or if we're in a meeting, you might just want to leave the room. So is there anybody who has a conflict of interest they'd like to declare for tonight's meeting? Okay, so we're going to move along. I'm just watching to see who's joining us. Okay, so then we're going to go into approval of the minutes from December 14th. This was our last board of directors meeting back in December. I think all of us were so dead tired, we barely made it through our agenda right before the holidays. I think everyone who has a small business was just killing it to try to get through. So, but let's approve the agenda anyway, or sorry, the minutes anyway, because we did finish the meeting and we did do our best. So I'd like somebody to make a motion to approve the minutes. Be it resolved that the Creemore BIA Management Board hereby approves the meeting minutes dated December 14th, 2021 as presented. Someone like to make that motion?
I'll make the motion.
Or John had his hand up first. So John, thank you for making the motion. And Jackie, would you like to second?
Sure.
Thank you. All in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
Great, thank you. Okay, so minutes are approval is motion is carried. Thank you. Okay, so now we're getting into number 5, which is the big event for tonight, is the Agm presentation. So I am going to go through a 742 slide presentation tonight, so I hope you're all comfortable and you have a drink close by, a pillow maybe.
Speed slide.
And this is prepared by the board. I put it together, but it's basically been a combined effort from everybody in the board over the last month, and the many meetings that we've had and the many phone calls and emails and just getting together and doing a lot of planning. So what we have here is a draft of some of the ideas that we'd like to present to you, both in reflection of what we did last year and our budgets and how we fared against our budget, and also for the year coming up. Here it is. Thanks, Kayla. So sometimes I can't always see if you guys have your hands up or anything like that. So if you really need to get my attention, just speak up, because I don't always have the best view of everyone here. Okay. Right, so here we go. Okay, next slide. Let's jump right in. Okay, so here's an overview of what we're going to talk about tonight. Basically our plan for tonight's presentation. We're going to talk a little bit about 2021 in review and look at some of the numbers and how we spent our budget. And then we're going to hop right into 2022 plans. And the 4 most important things that where I've sort of divided it is the experience in Creemore, community support, marketing, and long-term planning, all very important programs that we work on in the BIA. Next slide, please. Okay, so if you haven't been to any of our meetings and you're not too familiar on how our board works, I wanted to just introduce everybody. My name is Lori Severn. I am the president of the BIA. We have here with us tonight Sarah Hershoff, who is our treasurer. We also have Heather Harding, who is our secretary. Our past president, somebody who was the president for the last 4 years, Jackie Durnford. And Linda DeWinter is here as well, who is a member at large. And Jennifer Yake hasn't joined us yet, but she is also a member at large. And also this year we welcomed Malin Benoit from Chez Michel. She is also a member at large. And Councillor John Broderick has joined us. He's also here at the meeting tonight, and he is our councillor that helps us represent ourselves on council. Next slide. So I just want to give a little bit of year in review here. So what's interesting here is we have some hellos and some goodbyes. We're always sad to say goodbye to some of our beloved BIA members and the shops that have been around town for a lot of years, and we appreciate all that they've given and all the support that they've done over the years. So we say goodbye to Seasons this year, and also Ms. Design Flowers.
Mailing address?
Sorry? Oh, I don't know if somebody was talking to me or not. And then I'd like to mention that the nice thing about it, and ever since that I've been working on the board of the BIA, every year we have more welcomes than we have goodbyes. And that's a big deal because I think there's a lot of small towns that would love to be in our shoes, because with the pandemic over the last 2 years, I bet there's a lot more goodbyes from what I'm hearing than there are hellos. So during the second year of pandemic, for the second year in a row, we have a lot more businesses opening than we have closing. So, and that's not to say that the businesses that did close had anything to do with the pandemic. I think it was actually other reasons, but it just so happens how it worked out. So we welcome the Creemore Film Lab, the Creemore Flower Company, the YF Chocolatier Patisserie, which has not yet opened, but I put them here because I know they're opening hopefully this month or next. Pizza Perfect has new owners, changed hands. The Apothecary has a new location, or expanded location. Eastwood Vintage has a new location. Royal LePage, Suzanne Lawrence is here. They have a new location. And Ann Clifford opened a gallery in a location just across the road from me. And Sotheby's also opened a new location. So what's interesting is all the people that either expanded during the pandemic and got new locations of bigger stores, or we have some new companies altogether, which is so wonderful to see. And I think everyone's gonna make a great asset to the whole community as a whole. So it's pretty exciting stuff. All right, so next slide. So here we are, another pandemic year, 2021. So who knew when I think when the board members took this job that we'd be trying to deal with all this fun pandemic stuff. We had such big plans, and it was so disappointing for the second year in a row not to be able to do a lot of them. So successes and highlights, though, we still feel that we had a successful year in 2021 for the BIA. We did some things we've never done before. So we did online campaigns, which was the Valentine's Day event. It wasn't an event, sorry, it was an online campaign, completely online, hoping to get folks out shopping for Valentine's Day and purchasing packages that the BIA put together. We did lavender themed street decor. We couldn't really do a big street party or festival or anything like that back in the spring. So we decided to decorate our street better than we've maybe ever done before with the addition of the Muskoka Chairs. We spent a lot on our planters. We put bunting in our windows. You know, we really tried to really spruce up the street so people felt welcome. We did a meet and greet outside at a socially distanced meet and greet at Purple Hill Lavender Farm for our members. We did the Muskoka Chair sponsorship. The name of that is called the Take a Seat program, where lots of people actually, we didn't realize this was going to be so successful, but a lot of people, once we bought the Muskoka chairs, decided they wanted to sponsor them for $100 a chair. And Sarah had little plaques in gold, not real gold, but gold metal, put on each chair with the name of the sponsor, or if it was a commemorative chair, the name of the person they were commemorating. And so it was a really nice surprise for us that we had so much support. And I think that was a testament to Sarah and the folks here on the BI and how hard they work. Partnership with Clearview Township for watering the planters. Seems like it's an odd thing to put in, but for us in the BIA board, we felt that this was really important because up until now we've spent close to $3,500 in watering plants every year. And it just seems like one of those expenses that we wish we never had, but for years and years we've done it. And so this is the first year that Terry Vachon and the folks at Creemore Tourism and Parks and Recreation, they purchased a big trailer with a big watering, I don't know what you call that big vat of water on the back and a hose. And they were able to go around every week and water all our planters. So that took a huge chunk of our budget. So it was amazing that they were able to do that for us. We did Chill on Mill. So we did Pedestrian Saturdays. Again, another new project that we had never done before, led by Linda DeWinter, and was quite successful in the fact that we wanted to do something that was socially distanced, people felt comfortable doing. It was during the pandemic, it was really in the early stages of reopening, and we just wanted to invite people back to Mill Street. And then, of course, trick-or-treating on Mill Street is always a popular event. It's one of our traditional events, but it happened again this year, which is great. And then we wrapped up the year with Christmas in the Valley. We did draws and raffles. We did the wrapping room down at Creemore Springs Brewery. And of course, the Santa Claus parade came back. And I think there were bigger numbers than I've seen in years of people watching the parade. So it was pretty exciting to see so many people out on the street before Christmas. So that's, I think, some of our highlights for 2020.
We made a lot of mittens too.
Oh, I forgot to add that. Thank you. We made 72 mittens to go on all those trees, led by Jackie Durnford. And when she said we were going to make it, I thought it was crazy, to be honest. And we bought all the felt, and a lot of these people were business owners who were swamped during December, but they all took some fabric and everybody cut out mittens and everybody sewed them, glued them. And it was a huge success. And the mittens look so beautiful up on the tree. And we're going to stay there for the entire winter. So thanks for Jackie and her vision on that, and tenacity to get them all done. Okay, so just some photos. I should have put this on so we could see it while we were talking about all our fun things. Cheryl Robertson, her and her crew and some of the folks that do the quilts made all the bunting for us. They had laid out all kinds of purple lavender fabric and made bunting, which was just such a nice volunteer thing to do. And then, we've all these kinds of fun things, the Purple Hills that offered us their lavender farm so that people could meet and socially distance themselves and have a bit of a night off. And it was a beautiful evening to sort of share with some of our members and get to know some of our newer members who, maybe we haven't really met before because we haven't really been out much outside of our stores. And then the Creemore rack cards, all these things were kind of new things that we'd done because we tried to put the rack cards into different places so that we can entice people into coming in and shopping and dining in Creemore. So that was part of our lavender rack card program. The Muskoka chairs, they were fun. We had them painted by one of our old board members, and that was pretty exciting to have those in a purple lavender as well. That worked well for the Chill on Mill. So anyway, just some photos for last year, just for as a memory. You can switch. Okay, here we go. Let's dive right in. So here we are for 2022. Hold on to your seats. It's going to be a busy one. Okay, so let's go, Kayla. You can go to the next slide. Hopefully.
To key priorities?
There we are. Key priorities. Okay. Sorry, maybe my internet's slow and it wasn't advancing. So here's just what we're going to talk about over the next 72 slides. So we have the experience in town. We want to always make sure that when people come to town, they feel welcomed. All of our business owners are really passionate and friendly. So I already have that. But the other, more subtle experience in town is really the streetscape and making the street look really beautiful and just a place where people want to linger. They want to spend some time. They want to browse. They want to walk the streets. So we do spend a lot of time and money on our streetscape. And of course, the experience, we're also going to support the best we can other community groups like, the art show or the farmers market and all these various groups that we support. Even though they have events within Mill Street, we work with them on those things. BIA member relations, database, newsletters, all these sorts of things we're going to work on. Marketing. This is a big one. This is where most of our money will go this year that you'll see. And we're going to continue to tell the Creemore story. So part of our mandate in the constitution of BIA is the promotion. And we really see this as a big part of our promotion and the marketing. So we're going to talk about Creemore Nights and some of the big plans we have there. And then we're going to talk about the continuing of our traditions, which some of them we were able to do this year, some of them we weren't because of the pandemic, but we're hoping to bring a lot of those BIA traditions back, like the Horse and Hound and Christmas in the Valley. And the Santa Claus Parade, which anchors kind of the other end of the year for us. It's a big event, and it is completely managed within the BIA budget. So we'll talk about that as well. Sarah's going to finish off by some exciting stuff about Levy and how we're going to look for some new sources of funding for 2023. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so here we get into the nitty-gritty. So Sarah and I did, what we tried to do this year was, we're going to show you the budgets and the P&L and all of that. But instead of just standing here and just presenting a whole bunch of dry numbers, we tried our best to make sense of the numbers so that you could really see what we're getting into. So what we've done here is we've done an actual for 2021, the 2021 proposal. So that was what we had proposed in our budget way back in, I guess it was January of 2021. And then what we're proposing for 2022. So like I said before, flowers, decor, streetscape, super important for us. So you can see that we spend a lot of money on flowers. You can see that watering, we had proposed a lot more, but then when we had the addition of Terry Vachon's team, we were able to not spend that money. We only spent some money contracting out some services for weeding and maintenance along the street. Furnishings was a little larger than we expected. We had budgeted a little less, but we bought all the Muskoka chairs. So what we found was the Take a Seat program was so successful. I think we had originally budgeted 8 or 10 chairs, and we ended up adding quite a few more chairs because there were so many people asking us to be part of the Take a Seat that it kind of surprised us, but we thought it was a good opportunity. And so we added those in. So that's why, so they kind of paid for themselves, but in the way our budget works out, it kind of looks like we spent it.
Mm-hmm. Can I just ask a question about the garbage?
Yeah.
It's kind of like almost, well, it's doubled from the proposed of last year. Is that got some other events included in it, or is that just our regular bin? And
Oh, I can speak to that, Lori. Sorry, Jackie, this was just based on the quarterly cost of the bin before you talked to them. I apologize. That
okay, so it will be reduced.
But Lori and I, in our conversation, we just decided to leave it at that 6 with all the changes that have happened with garbage lately. We just want to make sure we have a contingency plan. If our members are finding that the storage isn't working for them, the biweekly pickup is problematic, then we have a lot of flexibility in that garbage. And as you said, it also helps us pay for we also will have some additional garbage because of what we're planning in terms of events. So that 6,000 should cover that.
Okay, so, but is there money in the Creemore Nights budget to cover garbage or no?
In terms of covering garbage, like the actual pickup on the night, yes. The garbage, when we talk about garbage in terms of the streetscape, we're talking specifically around the tipping fees from the waste management company and Steve's regular bi-weekly, or in the summer, if we're really busy 3 or 4 times a week, the pickup there. So it isn't event specific. However, the events do have an impact because of the tipping fees.
Okay.
Yeah, I could point out that Jackie has volunteered in our last meeting to be the chair of the street decor committee. And so one of the first things she did, and I think that was done in literally the last few days, is I think you renegotiated part of our contract with the Georgian Waste garbage removal services, right? So some of this may have to be changed a bit based on your new contracts and what you've got going on. So it may come down for the proposal for 2022. But like Sarah said, we padded a bit in there because we know there's some really big events, and we know every time there's really big events, we need a lot of garbage pickup. So for those of you that don't know, those black garbage cans that are, I know there's one right beside Heirloom. There's one, I think, beside the pharmacy. I know there's several around town. Those are owned by the BIA. The BIA manages those. There's like a recycling, I think it's like paper, plastic, and garbage or something like that. And those, we manage them all. We pay somebody each week to go and, remove the garbage. And then we also have a bin behind Home Hardware, which is the BIA's bin. It's a large waste container. And we pay for, well, up until now, we've paid for bi-weekly service. We're switching that over in the winter months. It's a bit slower to have, is it monthly service, Jackie?
We're going to bi-weekly in the winter and weekly in high season.
I had it the opposite way, sorry. So bi-weekly. I know that lots of people are worried about having too much recycling. I know certainly from if I put my store hat on, I have a lot of recycling that doesn't necessarily always fit in my recycling bin that I've been allocated. So, having that extra bin that we can put recycling in, is really great, as well as garbage. Now, if you are interested in using the bin, Jackie and Sarah have been putting together a sort of a proposal for folks that want access to the bin and get a key for the bin. It's going to be a charge per use service.
Yeah, we put it out on Facebook Marketplace already, Lori, and it's the $75 for the whole year.
Right.
If you want to have a key, and you can pick up your key and pay your fee at the Echo. Perfect.
So it's a really good service. If you have a lot of garbage or you have a lot of recycling, both of those things go in the bin and they get sorted. And it's a great additional service that the BIA provides. And I'd encourage you to take advantage of that, because a container, it costs a lot more if you had your own.
Or even the tippage, like going to the dump regularly, it's a really good deal, $75 for the year. So.
Really good deal. Yeah, definitely. And you get a key because it is locked. So it's just for BIA. The other thing we don't have in this, and Jackie, this is a program that she started at the end of last year, was looking at lighting. So when we talk about streetscape, part of our streetscape is our Christmas decor or holiday decor. And boy, oh boy, Jackie and I have been working on this for maybe 4 or 5 years now. And what it comes down to, and the folks in the township, both Doug and John will attest to this as well, is that we had a wonderful report done by Burnside Consulting I think in the last 12 months. And basically what it says is that, if I can boil it down to a couple simple points, is that we're not able to use the hydro poles that are along Mill Street. Most of them are owned by EPCOR. And that means that we're not allowed to use them. We're not allowed to attach anything on them, like those vertical banners that some small towns have that say welcome to, wherever. And so we're not allowed to use them. We're not allowed to put lights on them. We're not allowed to attach anything to them or use the electricity from them. We don't have electricity on the street. We don't have electricity that can go up to the trees so that they can be lit. We've exhausted the search for good solar lights that could last all winter. We don't have that still. And so we have some struggles with getting lights on the street for the holidays. We think it would be very pretty and magical to light up Creemore, but it hasn't been easy. So Jackie came up with a proposal to put lighting, sort of the silhouette, so the sort of top silhouettes of all the buildings on both sides of the street, as something that we could do that, a little bit different than ever. We could use it throughout the summer when we do Creemore nights and other things like that. But it's a big undertaking, and it means putting some permanent railings up at the top of buildings and getting permission from all the building owners. And it's not a small undertaking either. It's a lot of money. So it's not on the budget because it's more money than we have, but it's something that we might want to evaluate this year and see if there is an appetite for it amongst the BIA members and the building members. And if so, then, looking to see where we could find funding, whether it's at a municipal level or grants or something like that.
Yeah, definitely. It's probably at the minimum, it's probably a $60,000 project at the minimum. So definitely be looking for money from either the township through Mara, as she did talk about this previously, or like you said, through grants. So well, if we get to work on it now, we might actually be able to have something by next business. maybe.
It's been a lot of years of trying to figure these different things out. So if you ever want to talk about street lighting, Jackie and I can definitely sit down and talk to you about that.
Oh yeah.
The other thing I'd like to point out is that when you look at our proposed budget for 2022, you see for street decor is $16,000. It's almost $17,000. Keep in mind that our levy is $20,000 as it sits right now. So if we didn't have the extra sponsorship from Creemore Springs Brewery and some of the other income that we do bring in, most of our levy as it is today would go to just putting street decor. So I think that's something people should know, is that the flowers cost a lot of money. And we're going to use Rural Roots again, which is a local Creemore business. And she grows all her own flowers and uses sustainable, non-toxic, organic sort of fertilizers and things like that. And, we'll be using her services, but they're expensive. Flowers are expensive. So, you know, just something to think about. Flowers and garbage and making the street beautiful, it's expensive. So it's pretty much our entire levy. So bear that in mind when we get later to the levy discussion. Okay, so next slide, please. Kayla, can you switch slides? Oh, there we go. Okay, so the streetscape, I gotta move you guys over because now I can't see the slide very well. Okay, so here we are. So this is what we're thinking in 2022, just to kind of run through some things. I mentioned that Jackie is going to be our chair for the street committee. We have 40 self-watering planters that we purchased in the township actually worked with us to purchase those as part of their beautification budget. Rural Roots is going to do the flowers. The Muskoka chairs are going to return. We thought that they were they were so well received last summer. I think people really enjoyed them. They liked getting takeout food or coffees or stuff from the bakeries and just sitting on the chairs and just watching the activities on the street. So I think we're going to use them again. I think the board really thought that was a good idea. And I think the board has also decided that we're going to leave them in lavender for now. Perhaps in 2023 will be the time to repaint them. But as we just had them one season, we think we can get another season out of them. We're going to have to do a little bit of work just to make sure that they didn't get damaged over the winter and that, you know, they're usable again. But we think that pretty much everything will be usable. The key thing to remember here is that the Take a Seat program or the sponsorship of the chairs was only for 1 year. So whoever sponsored a chair last year, that sponsorship's now over and we start a new program. So we're going to start soliciting for the new Take a Seat program. And, you know, anybody who wants, again, to purchase their sort of sponsorship of one of these chairs, we'll get new plaques made. So that's exciting. Sorry, I get a bit out of breath. Okay, we're going to ask the township to refinish the benches. You know, the benches that go up and down the street, they're typically brown, typically faded. I know that this is something the township has done for us in the past and we appreciate it. So we'd like to discuss that with them again. Again, we're going to contract out some weeding under the trees. I know the township did a bit of this last year, but basically we contracted a landscaper to do that for us. And the Tree Society is always in touch with us and they help us prune the trees because they don't want us to start cutting them. They want to do them properly. We're also going to talk to Clearview Township about street cleaning. This year, there was only one street cleaning in the budget. They contracted out this year, so it's an ongoing discussion with Dan Perot and his team. Our flowers, we're hoping to have our flowers around the time of the May long weekend. Obviously weather dependent, so you know, don't hold us to it if it's before or after. Fall decor usually includes planters and gourds in the big black planters amongst the sort of grasses and things that we'll have that can sustain throughout the fall. So we'll be adding those in. And then all the planters must be removed by November 1st. So if you wonder why they get taken off so quickly, it's because of the snow plowing contracts with Clearview Township, everything has to be removed by then. And we're thankful that Clearview Township helps us to remove those planters. So it's a wonderful partnership we have with them. Holiday decor, usually we decide holiday decor in the summer. And so that'll be part of Jackie's team to kind of figure out what this year's holiday decor will be, if it'll be 72 more mittens or we'll do something else. After knowing Jackie, it'll be something new and fresh. And oh, right, we just talked about this, the feasibility of silhouette lights on buildings, if there's an appetite for it. So we'll talk about that as well. Okay, next slide.
I wonder, Doug, do you have any input as to the more contracts for street cleaning? Has that been talked about yet?
Hi, everybody.
Hey, Doug.
Thank you for the question. It was mentioned as part of Dan Perot's presentation to council as part of the budget process. It's encompasses, you know, the street cleaning equipment is not owned by the township. We rent it for various projects across the township, and the availability of it to come back is problematic, being that obviously the people who rent it out to other places and towns and businesses. So in order for us to do that, we may have to either find another provider of these type of machines or actually invest.
That would be awesome. If the township owned one, that would be so great because we could certainly use more than one, more than two, probably more than 3 street cleanings a year to keep the street looking really good for visitors.
Yeah, you know, it's actually a little bit of a challenge for the township staff, given that of our 4 beautiful, towns we have in our beautiful municipality, only one of them has a main street that needs to be cleaned. The rest of them are all run by counties or province of, so it's the contract work that we do in Stayner. We have to do it in coordination with the province of Ontario and the county to make sure that it happens at a certain time, and it's pretty specific. But Creemore is the only place that the township of Clearview has a street that would need cleaning.
Right.
So therein lies the problem. Do we invest significant money, upwards of $150,000 to buy one of these pieces of equipment to do one street when we can rent it from the contractor who keeps it maintained and updated and so on? So it's been back and forth a little bit as to whether or not that's something we would do.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I think either way is going to work if renting is cheaper, as long as we can book it in advance
as long as we can get it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for your input, Doug. I'll be following up with Dan, and hopefully we'll be able to work something out.
Great. Thanks, Becky. Okay, just switching gears and looking at member communication and community support. One of the things we're going to endeavor to do, I think this is constant for us, is to always being current on our database. There's new folks joining us all the time, businesses changing hands. It's quite a job to keep on top of all these things and make sure that we have everybody's contact details. So that's something we endeavor to do. We also want to always include our building owners, because if you're not clear, both the business owners that rent or own the building, and as well as the business owner, the building owners are members of the BIA, and they can also vote. So we want to make sure that we include them in all of our communications. We're going to continue to use our Facebook group, which is that's probably the greatest tool we have at the moment for getting information out to members. Even if you're not a really big Facebook user, it is very useful to join our group, because you get the notifications, especially if it's just the informal conversation between businesses. Certainly during the pandemic, it's been really helpful to talk about, on holidays, who's open, who's closed, what hours are you working? Can anybody remember who does this? Or, just being able to ask questions of a group of your peers is a great forum. We'll try our best to do more face-to-face communications. Obviously, during the pandemic, that hasn't been as easy as we were hoping. Ads in the Echo, we put an ad in for tonight's meeting. We'll continue to do that. And the Clearview Township website, as always, we have a lot of information posted there for the BIA. We want to encourage more participation at meetings, fundraising, grant writing, volunteers at events. So participation from our members, we really want to bring more and more members out to these meetings and get them involved. They can learn about fundraising. There's always opportunities in the BIA, no matter what your skill set is or what you want to do. We can always find, something for everyone, I think. And then we're going to work in cooperation with other community groups. So we are working very closely right now with the Village Green, and you'll learn a bit more about that with Creemore Nights, the Farmers Market, the Legion, the Tree Society, Purple Hills, Log Cabin Jail. All of these folks we are always in constant communication with, or at least some of our board members are, and we bring it all to every meeting and talk about what's going on. Sometimes they join our meetings, sometimes we join theirs, so that we really work in tandem in this village, so that all the community groups really know what's going on. Next slide, please. Okay, we're going to work with the Village Green. So yes, this is a big deal for us. This year, they're hoping to hire we don't exactly know the name of the position, but it's a job position that will be full-time, and will be working as a manager, basically, in the Village Green, and something that the BIA has had a lot of input in terms of the job description, and is working very closely with the executive director and the team there. They're also going to be hiring, it looks like, if they get the grant, some summer students to help with the Village Green that they were going to provide to the BIA to help with some of our programs as well, which is great. And of course, we'll continue to work with Farmers Market as well, because they contribute directly to a lot of the marketing on our street. Okay, next slide. Okay, here's the big one. So marketing events beyond the pandemic. So the caveat is the pandemic, we're kind of hoping it's all winding down, and this is the last big hang of the pandemic. We have some big plans here, but things may change. So let's just cross our fingers that it's going in the right direction, and that we'll be able to actually fulfill some of these programs we have. So what I've got up here for you now is the program and events calendar for 2022. It's proposed. Things may change. Like I said, pandemic, who knows what's going to actually happen or whether we'll be closed or open. Hopefully we're open. So all things going forward, I think the BIA board felt that this was a pretty comfortable calendar of events to put together. Traditionally, we've done an Easter egg hunt. Often it's happened in the Village Green. Likely won't happen there this year, but it could happen as a scavenger hunt among businesses, or there's lots of opportunities there. So we're hoping to reenact our Easter egg hunt, which didn't happen last year or the year before, I think. We're hoping to have a social. So this was an idea I think put forward by Heather Harding from Creemore Springs. And we felt that there's a lot of BIA members that joined us during the pandemic, that opened their business during the pandemic, that we didn't really ever get to have a live meeting with them. So, in the past when we had meetings or we had meet and greets, it was great. We could all get together at Station on the Green and get to see each other, but we haven't been able to do that in 2 years. So we feel like there's a whole lot of people out there that probably don't feel very connected to the BIA, and we want to make sure they feel connected to us. So we're proposing on May 3rd, I think it's a Tuesday, maybe an evening where if we're allowed to, and the gathering, we're allowed to have gatherings and things like that again, maybe Creemore Springs has offered their space for us to have a little bit of a get together, enjoy a glass from Creemore Springs and, learn more about the BIA, maybe sign up if people want to volunteer, if people want to get involved, or they just want more information, and meet everybody on the street. So that's hopefully a social event for BIA members only. May 14th, To Us More is a wholly done Creemore Springs event that Heather Harding is in charge of, and that will happen on May 14th. But I put it on here because it affects our village, and we want to be able to say that we are supporting this event in any way possible. So if there's a way we can help support To Us More, whether it's decorating our stores with bicycle paraphernalia or whatever it is, I think we should come up with some ideas on how we can support them. In the past, we've done Vintage Festival as part of the To Us More event. This year, we won't be doing Vintage Festival. So if there's other ways that we can support them, we'd love to do that. May long weekend. So the Victoria Day long weekend comes up sort of mid-late May. We're hoping to have all of our street decor there and our planters to be up, because that's really the unofficial sort of start of the season for us, the start of the summer season. And so we want to make sure the chairs are out and they're all cleaned and spruced up. The planters are there. The street decor is all ready to go. So it just looks beautiful when we sort of start to see the day trippers and the tourists coming back into town. We're also going to start the promo for Creemore Nights in May as well. We're going to get out in front of it this time a little bit earlier. July 1st, Creemore Nights, it falls on a Friday, so it will be part of our Creemore Nights programming. I know from speaking with the folks at the Village Green that they are hoping that the launch of the Village Green will be July 1st as well. So this will be kind of an exciting evening with lots going on, hopefully at the Village Green and for us at the BIA. So it'll be a big Mill Street event. And then every Friday night in July, we will be doing Creemore Nights if we get funding. And also August, we will be doing Creemore Nights every Friday night as well. So that's 9 Friday nights, if you're wondering. Copper Kettle is also another Creemore Springs event, but also does affect us all on Mill Street. And I think we're always really happy to see it. I know we've missed it last year and perhaps the year before as well. So we're excited that if things raise the pandemic wise, we're going to have it again August 27th. Street decor happens in September. There's a changeover of street decor. It's a bit of a job, but we always want to make the street look beautiful in September. Horse and Hound Parade is something we haven't had in 2 years, and we're really hoping to have it back again this year. Happens on the Saturday of Thanksgiving weekend. And we'll be speaking to the Toronto and North York Hunt Club about whether they're able to participate again. Trick or Treat on Mill kind of is an easy event that always happens for Halloween. This year's the BIA election. So I believe the municipal elections are in October, and I believe that we follow the same election processes and calendar as the municipality. So we'll be looking for forming a committee for the election of the BIA members and the BIA new board of directors. And so we'll need some volunteers to help us head that up. And if you're thinking, there's positions open that will be coming open to join the board. So that's something to keep in mind. And then we get right into November, holiday shopping, promotion, holiday street decor, which is traditionally what we call Christmas in the Valley. It's sort of an all-encompassing sort of marketing sort of umbrella that keeps all of these kinds of events and promos together. And then the big thing is December 3rd will be the Santa Claus Parade. I think, right, Sarah? Did I get the right date? First Saturday of December? Okay.
Oh,
That's it.
Lori, sorry to, with the, are we skipping Valentine's, the Share the Love or the Big Heart in February?
As it stands right now, we don't have anyone who's willing to take the lead on that. So if somebody's interested in doing something for Valentine's, we could certainly add it in.
Oh,
But
okay.
we don't have a volunteer to head up the Valentine's Day.
Okay.
Okay, Creemore Nights, here we go. And I'm going to ask Sarah to jump in here as well. Sarah has very bravely offered to be the chair of the Creemore Nights committee, which is amazing. And members of the committee also include Jackie Durnford, Linda DeWinter, and myself. So we'll be the people sort of putting some of the plans together, but there'll be lots of opportunities for lots of you either listening today in this presentation or maybe streaming it later to volunteer. You know, we'd love to have lots of people involved, lots of things to do. It's a big, big event, and we're hoping that everybody feels excited and wants to be part of it. So we want to talk about the objectives for Creemore Nights. It's really to attract, you know, both our community and new visitors to experience Creemore. We want to create a sustainable event series that keeps Creemore top of mind and builds the Creemore story. So, you know, it's a great kind of almost an excuse to market Creemore. You know, it's something that's really exciting. It gives Creemore a bit of a buzz throughout the summer. People talk about Creemore. They start to think that there's something going on in Creemore every Friday. So it's kind of interesting that way from a marketing perspective. We want to entice Friday night visitors to the village to support our downtown businesses, restaurants, shops, cafes. We want to connect our community by bringing some fun. Certainly after 2 years of really no events other than the parade, you know, it'll be pretty exciting to be able to invite back our local residents, our community, our weekenders, you know, and thank them for supporting local businesses for the past 2 years, and also, you know, to continue that support of local businesses. We want to engage as many BIA members as possible that want to be part of it. We want everybody's ideas. We want everybody's support. And we also want to build long-term relationships with the Creemore Community Foundation. This is a really important one, and our sponsors. So, you know, we're hoping to get some new corporate and individual sponsors, and we really want to build relationships so that these kinds of events are sustainable over the years. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so Sarah put this slide together actually. So Creemore Nights, I don't know, Sarah, if you want to hop in here at any point, just let me know.
Well, I can talk. I think
Yeah.
a lot of the people. Oh,
Yeah,
a lot of okay. I just want to make sure I'm not talking to myself. So many people experienced Creemore Nights. We were really pleased with what we were able to accomplish in year one of Creemore Nights with a really small budget and a very short turnaround period. I think that picture that we're looking at really shows the success we had. We had amazing performers. We had excellent turnouts. We learned a lot. And I really felt that I wanted to try and do this again because there were so many opportunities that we saw. And so now I'd really like to take advantage of that. Things that we're going to do better this time. It was a core group of 5 or 6 of us that managed all of these events, and it was just too much work. So we're going to work with the community at large to build the volunteer support network that we need. We also have better relationships with the municipality, and we've pulled them in right from the very beginning. Amanda has been who is in charge of Rec and Culture up at Clearview, has been unbelievably helpful. And we've kind of honed our systems after the 8 events that we did in 2019. So we feel like we've got a really good handle on how to put this together. The most exciting part, though, is the work that we'll be doing alongside of Village Green and the Creemore Community Foundation. With we've already talked to them, and with their help, we will be getting some staffing support and hopefully also some financial support if required. So we have the opportunity to do what we've done in the past and really make it so much better, a lot better for our businesses, better for our community, and better for us as volunteers. I think that covers that slide.
Thank you,
Next.
Sarah. Thanks, Sarah. I appreciate that. Yeah, go ahead, Kayla. So here what we've done is we've put some programming ideas together. Now I want to say, and it also says it here, is that these are not in chronological order. It doesn't mean that the third one is the third weekend in July. They're basically a brainstorm from the board and from Sarah in terms of the kinds of ideas that we can do, because we want to make sure that each night has its own sort of theme and that each one is different. And so that there is an appeal to everybody, whether you're a young family or, you're really into, rock music, there's something for everyone. So I just want you to know that just brainstorms here. And also there's another caveat that we need to get funding. So you'll see that later, that a lot of this depends on the funding that we're able to raise and whether we're able to actually do this sort of slate of events. I think we've got 9 different ideas here, and obviously, new ideas might come up as we're looking. And Sarah's going to be helping to book some of the talent through some of her contacts, and so these are just some of the ideas. July 1st, which is typically our Canada Day, it falls on a Friday this year. We like the idea of having community picnic like we did before down Mill Street with the picnic tables. I think those of you who joined us 2 years ago remember that was one of our most successful evenings. They hope to have the Village Green, the launch of it, July 1st. Again, dependent on so many things. I know materials and labor and all kinds of things have been a real challenge over the last 2 years for the Village Green. So they're aiming for that date, but we have to know that it could change. And we also brainstormed within the board about, some sort of an Indigenous component as well. So, incorporating that into our programming and making sure that that's part of the diversity in our programming as well.
Lori, can I just speak a little bit more to the element of inclusion, especially around Indigenous communities?
Yeah.
We have applied for this programming. We have applied to My Main Street, which is a significant funding body for community events and activities in 2022. A big portion of this grant does focus on inclusion, Indigenous components, and underrepresented organizations and individuals. So as we go through and we program, we will take an eye to include the LGBTQ plus community. We'll make certain that we're reaching out to underrepresented individuals. And I think it's a nice opportunity for us as a very traditional rural community to invite people of all different communities to our space, because we're white. So I'm just gonna say it. We're as white can get.
Yeah.
I think it's just such a nice.
It's not because we're white, it's because we're inclusive.
Yeah, but we're very white, and we're also very inclusive, and we want to open up our very traditional rural community to people who might not have had the chance to come to a traditional rural community, or who may not have in the past felt included or invited in. So for me personally, that's really important. So every step of the way as we're programming, we're going to be really mindful of inclusivity.
I think that's a really important point. So I think more than we've ever done before, we definitely have an eye to that. The Jazz on Mill, jazz is always a great one. We had Jazz and Blues 2 years ago with Samantha Martin and the Delta Sugar, which was one of our biggest successes. Creative Mill, we're going to be working alongside Purple Hills Arts and Heritage Society, and talking to them about how we can maybe do an event together that's focused around art and art partnerships. And then perhaps, Jackie has a wonderful idea of bringing, maybe a drum group in to do sort of an interactive programming as part of the event. Sing along on Mill Street. I won't give all these things away yet because I know Sarah's still working on some of them, but the Rock and Mill, the family-friendly programming, so something maybe a little bit more for young families with children that they can really be part of. The hoedown is always everybody's favorite, having that, you know, call to dance back onto the street with live music will be lots of fun, because we noticed when we did that 2 years ago that people of all generations and from all backgrounds and were here, you know, like it was kind of incredible to watch people that were, you know, 5th generation Creemore residents with people who had just moved in, you know, in the last 2 months, were all dancing together, and we loved seeing all that. Folk on Mill, Rural Pride, you know, Copper Kettle, these are all just sort of brainstormed ideas that we're sort of thinking about, and it would be kind of fun to include for Creemore nights. Is there anything else you wanted to add to that, Sarah?
I just wanted also, back to the inclusion piece, I just wanted to say that we have reached out to organizations that are a little bit more educated to help us with this. So all of this will be done in collaboration with the communities that we're seeking to embrace and understand better. And if anybody out there has a specific interest when it comes to organizations such as
Rainbow.
or activities such as Pride, any kind of connection that you have is really appreciated. The whole idea here is that it's not just an event, that it's a whole mindset, that we're working really, really hard to invite everybody in and make our community a safe space. So please, if you have a specific interest around that or connections, I'm really excited to hear from you.
Great. Okay. So we're going to skip to the next slide if that's programming ideas. Thanks. So this is something new that you haven't seen before, certainly from the BIA, maybe ever, is that we've got a pretty ambitious budget that we've put together for these events. There's 9, and we did it on a shoestring 2 years ago. And so we decided that we felt that from our feedback from community members, from BIA members, that they wanted to go ahead with this. I think constantly all of us have been stopped on the street in the last 2 years and asked us when Creemore Nights was coming back. So we've taken that and decided if we're going to do it, we're going to do it big. So there's a big budget of $73,800 put aside. Now that's for all 9 nights. And we're hoping that a huge portion of that, at least half, is going to come from a grant, which Sarah had discussed before. Sarah's already put the application for the grant in. We were asking for $37,450. It's a significant grant. We think it's very achievable and attainable. But of course, like with all grants, it's not guaranteed. So we do need to be mindful of that. If we are able to get funding from the grant, then, you know, we will look at, in addition, sponsorships. So we feel quite confident that some of the people and the individuals and the corporations that have sponsored us in the past and have sponsored Creemore Nights in the past will be interested in getting on board and funding some of our proposed budget as well, including the BIA. We're hoping the BIA will put in minimum of about $5,000. But depending on grant numbers and sponsorship numbers, some of these numbers may change a bit, but we could go up to, you know, 6,000 or 7,000 if need be. But we're, you know, so we're kind of keeping that a bit flexible because we have the money to do it. We haven't done a lot of events over the past couple of years, so we have been saving a lot of money. We have a lot of money in our bank account that we could certainly spend. But as well, we want to start to foster those relationships with corporate and individual sponsors, as well as Creemore Springs. A lot of you know that Creemore Springs each year gives us $15,000 towards our budget. And in these past 2 years, we haven't been able to spend it all because, you know, we've not been able to do the events we wanted to do. So each year we plan for things and then we don't really get to do them. So we do have some money set aside there too that, you know, Creemore Springs has given us the past couple of years that we could certainly put towards this. The other thing we're going to do is, unlike 2 years ago, if you remember, we had a bar at certain events. We had a street bar where we sold beer and wine and pop and non-alcoholic beverages. We expect to have bars again at every single night this time around. So all 9 events will have a bar component. And we found that it was very successful and helped us to raise a lot of funding. So the bars paid for themselves and helped pay for some of the events. So we're hoping that that will also, you know, be part of our budget. Will be able to come from the bar as well, probably upwards of $10,000. So That is the Creemore Nights proposed budget. If you'd like more information or more of a breakdown, we're happy to give that to you. It's also going to be in our proposed budget, which you'll see at the end of this presentation in our sort of accounting format. But if you want to have more information, we're happy to talk to you. Some of the answers, we don't have them right now because we're waiting on that grant, which we hope to hear back in the next month, whether we have the grant or we don't. And that will force us into decisions about sponsorships and various other things at that point. Does anybody have any questions right now about Creemore Nights? I'm sure you all have lots of questions actually, but whether we can answer them is another thing. Sorry, who had their hands up? I can't see everybody. So if Kayla, if you see who's Doug, do you have a question?
Sure. I just wanted to ask, I mean, very energetic, very glad to see that you're bringing the Creemore Nights back, or at least you're proposing to, and I hope that the budget works out for you, and good luck with the grant. I'm just wondering, the music component and the idea of working with the Village Green, is this obviously we're going to center on the new stage? Is that where that's happening? Or because certainly dancing on the street and using the same stage, just want to get a visual in my mind as to what your intention is as far as the actual space there.
Thank you. That's a really great thing. Sorry, Sarah.
So the majority of programming will happen in the Village Green when it's appropriate, but there'll be other elements that are not happening right in the green. When we have our dance, we will be on the main street. One of the things is going to be a kickoff for Copper Kettle Festival that will take place down at in front of the brewery, where they have a stage set up for the weekend. So there'll be an element that it's going to change a little bit weekly. And also throughout the main street, we're going to be activating the entire street. There will still be the closures. We'll have all of those picnic tables, because quite frankly, our hope is that we end up with crowds that are too big to fit into the Village Green, and that using all of Mill Street will be the only way to manage the crowd.
You know what? I'm actually glad to hear you say that, Sarah, because I'm excited for the Village Green. Obviously, I think it's going to be a great addition to our community, but I also think that it could be very quickly crowded with great events. So if we're going to be using the street and the Village Green and sort of promote and have the space open together, that's excellent. The actual occupancy in and around the stage is actually not that high when you think about it. I mean, it's a great stage area, but it physically doesn't have the elbow room to have,
I often think that we're gonna, I call it more fun per square foot than any other park I've ever seen. So, that's
a good line.
Yeah, it is going to be a challenge to accommodate all of the people that we're hoping to invite into the community in that space, and we are prepared for that. We will be using all of Mill to accommodate all of our visitors.
Yeah, that's a great question, because the other thing we're budgeting is picnic tables at every single event. We discovered that the picnic tables were so widely used that that we want to continue to have picnic tables. So those that don't want to be up close to the stage or up close to the music, they can still enjoy the scene and still enjoy Mill Street on picnic tables all the way down Mill Street. So there'll be seating, especially if they want to do takeout from the restaurants or, use the facilities at our bars. So that's a great question. And thank you for bringing that up.
Excellent.
Okay, the next slide.
Can you see Jackie Rushla's hand?
Oh, no, I can't. Sorry, guys.
Question. It's okay. It's been a while since I went to this, obviously for all of us, and I certainly wasn't a business owner when it was on. Do we stay open late for those? Like, are stores kind of encouraged to do that, or what are your thoughts there?
I can't really, so I guess that's kind of open for discussion for 2022. All I can tell you is the experience of the business owners in 2019 and what they chose to do. The majority of our business owners in 2019 that were strictly retail did not open late. However, I think there is an opportunity. In 2019, our marketing was fairly specific to friends and family. So it was people that had have always kind of had the opportunity to pop into any of the local shops. Whereas in 2022, it's our goal that this will be a little bit broader in reach, and we may have visitors that wouldn't necessarily get into the shops. Ultimately, it is the decision of the shop owners. we're going to put our heads together and see how we can make sure that if people do stay open, that it's going to work, that they're going to actually make the sales to stay open. But it might be a little trial and error. Our goal with Creemore Nights was 2019 was our pilot to see if it was even remotely good. 2022, our hope is to really understand the operations, how it benefits our members. So I think this is the year where we can really just figure out how can we make it the most for all of our retailers. And that's something we're going to do in collaboration with you. So we might find that we have certain nights where we want to make it like a sidewalk sale night where we really say, okay, everybody, tonight's like our shopping night, and we'll have like 4 of them targeted or something like that. And then the rest of the time we won't be open late. I don't know what that looks like yet, but I'm excited to try and figure that out with everybody.
For sure. Yeah. And I think it like a lot like Pedestrian Saturdays, where it was all just sort of a learning, and then we all adapted, and how it like really worked for our businesses. And yeah, I think that's cool. It's great. It's exciting to have it back.
We like to repeat things over and over and over and over and over again so that we can maybe get them right after 9 or 10 tries. It's our way.
Totally. And Sarah, just before I forget to say it, I definitely want to offer a little bit of help with the Pride idea.
Great. That's fantastic. I feel I have reached out, just so you know where I'm at. I've reached out to the Rainbow Club up in Collingwood, and Shelby Warts and I are talking. So I think I'm really, really hoping that we can collaborate with the Collingwood Pride Festival and kind of be a little bit of a satellite to that, but that's all still up in the air.
So exciting. Awesome.
Yeah. It's time.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Jackie. Good questions. And we'll look forward to more input, because it's so important that we have the input from our members with such big events like this. Okay, so here we go. Right, so we're going to kind of switch gears from Creemore Nights a bit and look at our overall sort of marketing and events programs for Creemore. We're going to talk about, in the left-hand side, we have the actual money we spent in 2021. So you can see that we've spent about $12,429 in total in marketing. Kind of funny how some of this works out, and it's maybe Sarah and my way of, attributing things in the accounting and things like that. But, things like the washrooms in Station on the Green, it sort of fell under marketing because it was part of really Chill on Mill. And we felt that during the pandemic, we had so many complaints about not being able to find a washroom that was open that the BIA decided to pay for the washrooms to be open. So things like that were a bit of an odd expense we didn't really expect, but here we are, we adapted, we did our best. We did a lot of promos too that weren't necessarily events, so having that sort of lavender themed street decor, having Mother's Day, Valentine's Day promotions. A lot of these things were online where people put packages up. We used our website, we used our social media the best we could. So that was sort of new events, new kind of programming we hadn't done in the past. Chill on Mill, we spent a bit of money there in terms of, we bought wagons, we had signs made, we did some promotion, we did some posters. All these sorts of things cost a little bit of money. And around Christmas too. So not only do we manage the parade at the BIA, but we also manage things like, there was a Christmas raffle this year. So you remember little cards that we had gave out to all the stores. We had a wrapping station at the Creemore Springs Brewery, gift wrapping, where we purchased the gift wrap. So, we had other types of promotions as well. Social media management, something that definitely needs to be improved this year. And same with the website. I know, I take full accountability for that. Probably needs a lot more work. And I don't think I'm going to be able to do it all myself anymore. So we are putting some more money around it this year because we're looking to hire probably an independent contractor to help us do the social media, help us do the website. Creating the content is extremely time consuming, as all of you know, because I know all of you manage your Instagram accounts and they're amazing. And managing the BIA one is no different. So, it means that there's constantly content that is, meaningful, and also that calendars are put together and campaigns and programs are put together in a very meaningful and thoughtful way. And they go through the appropriate approvals. As we represent sort of a larger, community of businesses, we need to make sure that, anything that we do put online is appropriate and it's on message and it's not offensive, so we have to make sure that everything that goes up is approved. So we do all of that currently. We need to do a whole lot more of it. So we're hoping, that's why you'll see a big jump in the money. In case you're wondering, well, you didn't spend that much this year, why are you proposing? It's because we need to hire someone. It's no longer feasible for a volunteer to take that on, I think, unless somebody here would like to volunteer, in which case I'd be really happy to talk to you. Christmas parade is something that the BIA manages the funding for. Most of the money goes in the parade goes into the bands. If you're not familiar, the piping, Highland Gorham Pipers, the CCI marching band, they all cost a lot of money. That's mostly where we spend a lot of our money is in the parade.
And this year, Lori, just a reminder that $2,000 of the money for the Christmas parade this year had to do with the purchase and refurbishment of Santa's sleigh and our float. Yeah.
So the sleigh that has been used for the last 50 years for the Santa Claus parade in Creemore was purchased this year by the BIA. So we are now in control of the Santa Claus parade sleigh and the mechanical reindeer. So we did purchase that.
Sorry, I just had a question about that. So with the increase in budget, even though we're going to not be purchasing the $2,000 sleigh this year, is that an increase to cover storage or something, or is that?
I'm sorry, I'm just looking at that too, and that might be an error, but we will review that in the budget when it comes for final decision. I apologize for that.
Okay.
That's a good point. Thanks, Jackie. Okay, so basically that's our budget. We were a little under budget, sorry, from what we had budgeted. We had bigger plans, I suppose, than we were able to execute against. And this year, of course, Creemore Nights is taking a huge proportion of our budget, but also we're boosting up some of our digital assets to be able to get some more professional help there. So that's why we have such a big marketing budget. Okay, so next slide, please. Okay, so now we get into long-term planning. And before I just hand it over to Sarah, I'll just finish a few points here. Sorry, I'm just moving you guys over. So we're going to continue to meet quarterly with the Parks and Recreation and Tourism departments, which is Terry Vachon, Amanda Murray, and their teams. We've had a great time working with them over the past few years. We've really, I think, built a solid relationship where we can talk about some of the plans. We work together. Last year, Amanda was instrumental in helping us put some money together to we got some money from a grant that she had applied for that we worked together on. In terms of the lavender, we were able to do a little bit more advertising and in the hills and some of the more expensive things we normally wouldn't have had the budget to do. So it was pretty great that we could work with her on some of those things. And I know even for the latest grant application, Amanda's been so instrumental in helping us read through it and just giving us some advice and pointers on grants. We're going to continue to build our volunteer base. So I don't know if I've said that enough times tonight, but we need more volunteers. Find resources. So we're constantly going to be finding resources for grants, funding, sponsorships, all of these things, because we don't have enough money to do the kinds of things we want to do with the budget we have. If we were stuck with our levy, all we'd be doing is planting flowers. Partnership with the Creemore Community Foundation. That's a very strategic and important partnership for us, as well as the program manager, who we hope will come and join us at our board meetings and will be really an extension of the BIA in terms of all the great programming that we will do in collaboration. And then sponsors in general, we'll be adding new sponsors, we hope, this year that Jackie and I are both working on. Okay, next slide. I'm going to pass this over to Sarah for levy review.
Okay.
You can take it away if you like.
Okay, so we have been doing a little bit of work on the levy review. I have to say it's taken a bit of a backseat to sort of just pandemic survival, but we did do a little bit. And starting off in 2021, we did a survey and we learned a little bit about our membership and understanding of the levy during that survey. Because many of our members that we actively engage with are tenants, they were unfamiliar with what the cost of the levy was. So for some of our building owners, the levies kind of range anywhere from $150 up to $2,000, no more than $2,000 ever. So that means even the brewery is only paying $2,000 annually for their BIA levy. So that was a very interesting thing to understand, is just what the gap is in terms of people knowing how much they're spending annually. I also learned that we did, as individual taxpayers, the building owners did end up with changes to their tax bills in 2021. And this was because of the removal of the TD Bank. When it came down, they stopped paying into the levy. So therefore, the levy amount, which is $20,000 annually, ended up being dispersed over the entire remaining membership. So people would have seen some changes. I can't recall off the top of my head if the changes sometimes fluctuated down for some people just because of MPAC assessments, but there would have been a change that you would have seen in 2021. So I also learned how we go about increasing the levy. To increase the levy is actually a fairly simple thing. Of course, always the approval of our membership is the number one most important part. We want to ensure that our members are comfortable with how we spend money, and that the money we're spending, we're putting into the places that matter most to our community. But to actually do the increase, it's very straightforward, where we just change the amount that we want and send it to council. With council's approval, the municipal staff is able to just go in there and change our tax bills. So that's the mechanics of how the levy change would work. So with that in mind, we do believe that it's time for us to finally, after so many years, nobody even knows when the last levy change was, to prepare to increase our levy in 2023. And in 2023, we think that we should do a significant levy increase in order to kind of make, just do a little bit of catch up for all those years nothing's changed. So for 2023, we're proposing that in our 2023 budget, so that is not the budget that we're looking at for this year. I just want all of our members to be aware that we're going to be putting this in process this year. We are going to look to that $25,000 levy for our next fiscal year. And we want to do it in a way that's equitable and reflects current MPAC assessments. In the work that I did, some of our members were paying as little as $140 a year. And it had to do with, I don't even know, like the MPAC assessment, some of them are just so antiquated. I don't know how it works. Maybe somebody like Suzanne Lawrence can explain it to me. But when I was looking at it, it definitely seemed like there was some work there that had to be done to ensure that people were carrying the proper load. I did see great inequities, and I can share those numbers with people if it matters to them.
So Sarah, just to sort of jump in there. So when you say 25,000, just to be clear, it's a $5,000 increase over our current levy.
Yeah, sorry, I apologize. Yes, so the current levy is 20,000. We would be going to 25,000. That's where I think we should start. Yeah. Are there any other questions about the levy, how we collect the levy, who pays the levy? I know we have more members here that might not be familiar with this.
I see Doug Measure's hand is up, and I'm sorry, I can't see if anybody else's hand is up.
Okay, Doug?
Thank you, Sarah.
Mhm.
At the time the Township of Clearview entered into the agreement with the Creemore Foundation,
Yeah,
an amendment was made to the agreement
yeah,
that the Creemore Foundation would pay the missing levy
Yeah.
from the TD Bank building,
And they do.
and they agreed to that.
I agree.
So what I'm concerned about is your comment that the levy increased this year because the
Yeah.
building was taken down.
I'm so glad you
That
Yeah.
should not have happened,
I know.
because the value was being applied directly to the taxes
Yes.
as a gift from the foundation. So I've made some significant notes here,
Okay,
and I'm going to investigate this very point,
thank you.
because there is already a discussion going on regarding some work at the foundation site there, the Village Green. And so I'm going to investigate this a little bit more.
Okay, and can I just speak to that for a second, Doug? I really appreciate you bringing that up. It was our understanding as well that when that building came down, that there would not be a change. And yes, the foundation did pay, I think their portion was $1,000, $1,028 or something like that is what TD had paid in the past.
Yeah.
That amount, I think it's just a clerical oversight really, but what happened is that $1,000 ended up being dispersed over the rest of our members.
Correct. And that's exactly the point that I'm going to investigate.
Yeah,
Because
so
first of all, the township no longer receives any taxes for the property. And the township does not charge any BIA levy for that property any further. And the foundation made a commitment to pay the levy portion to the BIA. So I'm going to investigate this a little bit more. I have all the signatures of the parties that were involved. My signature is actually on the agreement. I don't have it right here in front of me because I didn't know we were going to be talking about this tonight, but I will definitely look into this. Okay.
But Doug, so you're aware, the foundation did pay their portion.
Yes, yes, they did.
Okay, so they did not renege at all. It was just a little bit of an oversight on our
Yes.
part. And so we did have an unintentional increase to the remaining members in 2020 in 2021. And
Yeah.
we apologize to all of our membership for not speaking to them. We were kind of caught off on that as well.
Yeah. Well, my investigation of this will entail that I will be speaking to both the treasurer and the tax collector to point out the tax collector who writes that document that actually applies the values to all the individual properties. The signatures and the agreement clearly define that fund does come from the foundation and goes into the BIA levy. So the additional collection from the other remaining members would not have been necessary.
Correct.
Yeah,
But
and it happened.
I'll look into it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I think our takeaway, once I found out about this, my takeaway was to ensure that that we kind of have a little bit more formal method of approaching kind of the sign off on the levy annually so that we don't end up with these kind of gaps going forward.
Well, Sarah, I wish you had contacted me on that, because to be honest, that was one of the big sticking points I had with the foundation when we entered into the agreement with them. That and the other issues in regards to the public art that's part of the Village Green site itself has public art in it that remains the property of the township of Clearview, regardless of any opinion of the foundation. It is the public art remains the property of the township. So
yeah, so okay, I can tell you the way I found out was just with
Members.
what people paid one year, and then somebody said, oh, but the next year my amount went up. So that was looking at a 2020 and a 2021, and that's how we were able to find that happened. I was completely unaware of it. So
okay, I am too, as I don't have a bill that receives that. So
neither do most. Luckily, we do have some of our people are both building owners and active members. So that's how we found it. But to be honest, I hope that nobody found the increase problematic for them this year.
Fair enough.
We certainly haven't heard anything from any of our members complaining. So this year we did implement a slight increase, even if we didn't need to.
Fair enough. We'll get it sorted out.
Yeah.
All
I don't think there's any problems really with it. I think we learned a lot and nobody got hurt. So what we will do though is implement some kind of a specific process to ensure that what we think is the levy, what council thinks the levy is, and then what staff is actually going to apply for and pay out as the levy is all aligned. We don't want to be caught off guard like this. It's a bit embarrassing for all of us, to be honest.
Yeah, well, I'm surprised to hear this tonight. So thank you for this, and sorry to take us off track, but good luck with your presentations to this and your discussions with your members that are here tonight, as well as the members that are not here tonight.
And if I am incorrect on this, I apologize. I will do a little bit more digging. It's been a while since I looked at this, but this is what I found last winter when I was spending some time on it.
Okay.
Okay, so as I said, our goal or our idea or our recommendation for 2023 is to put the entire levy up, that $5,000 up to $25,000, and we have some ideas on how to do it. So Kayla, let's go to the next slide. So we would like to increase the minimum. Currently, there are buildings paying as low as $130 to be in the BIA, and we feel that $250 per building does not seem like too much when we're spending almost $100 per building on flowers. So, that's kind of where we're looking at it. We also think that the maximum, the ceiling could change, because right now no member pays more than $2,000. But we do believe that the higher
The cap.
earning and evaluations could probably go up a little bit. So currently it's 2,000, we put it up to 2,500. That would just make sure that people at a higher level are paying at a higher level as well. We'd also like to look at adding adjacent commercial properties to the BIA boundary, but we would need help of Clearview staff to do this. That's a bit of a process. Increasing the levy is not that difficult, but the boundary situation is a little bit more complicated. We think that there are buildings currently sitting adjacent that are really reaping the benefits, but not having to pay any of the price. And some of them are quite significant buildings, like we're looking at the little plaza behind the Foodland. We're looking at some of the buildings on Caroline Street, that sort of thing. So we think that if we're able to implement these little tweaks, add a couple new members, that our existing members won't see an increase that is problematic for them. So that's kind of how we'd like to approach it. In terms of how we're going to go about doing this right now, if anybody has any concerns, I'm happy to talk to them. We can show you some of the numbers and ideas that got us to here. And then what we'll do is take comment for the next 60 days on this. I'll probably put something out in our Facebook group just to remind people about this idea. And then if nobody has any major concerns, or if we're able to incorporate your concerns, we'll do so. And then we'll move forward with the idea that this is all ready to go for our 2023 year.
And then in 60 days, once we hear back from the membership in terms of feedback, I think we were discussing the board will meet, the BIA board will meet and put a motion together and vote on it at that time.
Yeah, to give some directives.
In order to take it to council.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you, Sarah. That's really great. Any other questions about the levy? Well, we're, sorry, Kayla, if you can go back. Sorry, I can't see anyone's hands. Sorry, I've moved you all away. So if anyone has a question, just speak on up now about the levy. Something that is definitely necessary. It's not the most sexiest kind of program that we work on, but able to sustain ourselves in the BIA and to continue to provide the sort of level of service and programming that I think has become more and more expected of us. We really feel that we need to start catching up. You know, from our understanding, it's been over 30 years since the levy has been raised, and 30 years ago, $20,000 probably could buy a whole lot more things than it can these days with inflation and the cost of labor. So we really do need to start catching up a little bit. And I don't think it's going to be too problematic, like Sarah said, but at the same time, we totally welcome feedback from our members. Hi, Doug. Yep. Do you have a question, Doug?
Yeah, I just want to point out, when you mentioned it being 30 years, Clearview Township has not existed for 30 years. So this actually was set by the village of Creemore.
That's correct.
That's how long it is. So that's the point about that I'd like to make here, that, you know, this is not something that Clearview Township has ever had to deal with, because the members have been very satisfied with the level as it was to continue.
Yeah.
But it, you know, it's very valuable work to do a review of how you do things, and it's always important to assess this and ask your members. So I encourage you to do that. Ask your members.
Yeah. I think one thing that I failed to mention too is that Lori and I And some of our other our board members have also talked about just having a built-in increase. So there could be an annual 2% kind of inflation increase, so that there's a clear expectation from the membership annually that there will be a slight increase, as well as a clear expectation from staff to apply that. So it's something we've discussed. And that is probably something we'll discuss when we are working with township staff to figure out how best to implement these things.
Thank you, Sarah. Yes. Okay, so if there's no other questions, we're going to go on to the next slide. How are we doing for time? It's 8:35. Okay, great. Sorry, Kayla, I think you're going the wrong way. Hopefully it comes up. I think this should be here we are. Here's our budget overview for 2022 that Sarah put together based on our QuickBooks evaluation. So I think there's everything in here we've already spoken about in terms of marketing, administration. Memberships that we join are the Ontario BIA Association. That's an important one for us to be part of. We have a bit of money set aside for meetings like the AGM and hopefully our social, just things like that. Beautification. Oh, signage is not something we spoke about. We put a little bit of money aside. We have a big billboard out on Airport Road that says merchants and makers turn left, I think. And we want to make sure that the solar lights are working, because there's a question we have about whether the solar lights are working. So we may need to replace them or have somebody go out there and do some maintenance. And we have what's called Todd Signs. I know some of you are very familiar with this, tourism-oriented directional signs, but basically you'll all know them because they're those blue or green signs that you see on highways that says Creemore 14 kilometers this way kind of thing. Creemore Springs has a lot of them. We depend on Creemore Springs and some of their Todd program that they put together, and then we augment that with our own. So we do have various different Todd signs around the region to direct people into Creemore, but we pay for that on an annual basis and it's not cheap. Okay, garbage. Yeah. Is there any questions at this point? We can see that there's a debit there, sorry, at the end.
Yeah.
That is the money that we're hoping to take. So this is our budget based on the income that we have. We have a lot of things coming in for income this year, but we still feel that there may be a shortfall, and that shortfall we're hoping to take from some of the retained earnings. Like I said before, the BIA has been kind of putting away a little bit of money. We have some money to do some bigger projects in the future and to look at some infrastructure ideas or things like that. But we do have some money in our bank account. So we would like to start spending some of that money that, we haven't been able to spend in the last couple of years. So what that means is we need permission from our members and council to be able to pull some of that money out. So you see about $6,200 that we'd like to pull from our retained earnings, but it should be fine because we have a lot of money in our bank. So
Kayla, did you happen to load up the balance sheet by any chance so that we can share that with our members so that they can see what we have still in our bank account?
Is that your updated one that you sent me?
No.
The balance sheet, I didn't send you a new one. It's just the one that I think I only sent you one of the balance.
I do have it. Let me just throw it up here for you.
So this will just give you a quick idea of kind of what we have in terms of cash in the bank and that sort of thing, which can show you.
That's it.
So yeah, so what you can see there. So this is actually as of today. Included in this, you can see right now we have about $84,000 on our balance sheet. And so, we're in great shape. Included in that is $15,000 that we have collected for donations for 2022. So that actually applies to the current budget, but generally we've got some cash in the bank. So that's really wonderful. We also have some money. We haven't received our HST rebate from the municipality for a couple of years. So that's something I'm following up on. So that would also put a little bit more money in the bank. It doesn't show on this particular balance sheet, just because we did a little bit of changing up our QuickBooks, but there is some more money there as well. So you can see we're quite healthy financially. We have the padding we need to go forward with some of these bigger projects, and we're very excited to do so.
Yeah, we do have a little bit of money there, but we want, because we know that our levy isn't very much money, we do want to make sure that we do, we don't spend it all in one place. So that's why we're still going to go out and raise money for Creemore nights and things like that. But we do have some money that the BIA, we feel strongly that the BIA should be able to put some money into Creemore nights as well. Questions about budgets or questions about the presentation or general comments? I can take them from anybody now if you like.
Also know that we will share the P&L, we'll share the budget, all of these things. If you have any questions at all about them, I can really give you some answers, hopefully. And also that if you are uncomfortable asking a specific question, or if you have ideas of where you think we should be spending our money in 2022, this budget is not passed. This is just proposed, and we're more than happy to get your feedback and make adjustments as required. This is your money. This is our organization, and we want to make sure everybody's really happy and comfortable with how this money is being spent, and we want to spend it to the best of the ability of our members and the board that's responsible for it. So please comment away.
While you're thinking about it, I'll just mention that the process for the budget approval is that tonight what I'm going to ask is a request for the approval of the proposed budget from our membership made in the form of a motion. And then what we'll do as well is that we'll have that proposed budget, and at our next BIA meeting, which is February 8th, it's coming up. So that gives you a few days if you'd like to take some time, or you'd like to look over the balance sheets and things like that, or the presentation again. That gives you, a few days, maybe 2 weeks, to go through it. And then at our next board meeting, the board of directors will vote on the proposed budget in terms of taking it to council. So what that means is once our board completely approves it, if there's any changes or any amendments that we need to make, we will make them at that board meeting on February the 8th. And then we will go to a vote. And then we will pass it on to council, where Sarah and I will appear before Clearview Township Council and present to them probably a watered down version of our BIA presentation tonight, and certainly our budget, so that they can understand what the BIA is doing and how we're funding it. So that is the process. And then once the budget is approved by council, we start spending it. We start on all our programs and our events and our activities, and we go forward. That's sort of how it works if you haven't joined us before for these processes. Okay, so if there's no one's got any questions right now, can I ask somebody to put together a motion that says they'd like to request the approval of the proposed budget, and just and also to accept the presentation as information? I don't know if those are two separate motions, Kayla.
I think we would just accept the draft budget as information at this point too, Lori.
Okay, thank you. Kayla, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so Kayla, I don't know if you're able to help us put together a motion.
Yeah, I have one here if you'd like.
I'd like that, thanks.
So be it resolved that the Creemore Business Improvement Association membership hereby accept the Creemore AGM presentation and draft budget as presented.
Wonderful.
I'd be happy to make the motion.
Okay, Jackie would like to make the motion. Do we have someone to second the motion? Jen, thanks for seconding it. And I'd like to ask all in favor, if you can say aye, or you can raise your hand if you choose at this time. All in
Aye.
favor? Okay. Yeah, thanks
Aye.
for the thumbs up from Jackie. Okay, wonderful. Thank you. The motion is carried. So we will add that draft proposal in, and our presentation as information. And again, I know sometimes, you're probably watching this and maybe working or doing some other things at the same time. We have lots of time to get back to us. All the board is always available by email or by phone. I think all of us are open to discussions. If you have ideas, if you have feedback, we're always, like Sarah said, we're always happy to listen to new ideas or anything else that you'd like to present to us, because certainly it takes a whole village to make this community run. So we hope that all of our businesses are proud of this and are excited about our proposals for 2022.
Awesome. Thanks, Lori.
So that is that concludes number 5 on our agenda. There's only 7 more items to go, folks. I'm just kidding. For the AGM tonight, that's our presentation. So public participation, that's your part. That's where we just asked for any sort of comments or questions you might have that you can direct to the board or to me. If there's nobody else that's interested in at this time directing their questions to us, we might be able to just move forward into new business. Okay. So new business, this is usually part of our agenda where if there's something new that comes up, unfinished business, I don't think we usually have a lot of new business at the AGM. These are usually presented during our monthly meetings, but if there's anybody that would like to present anything at new business, now's the moment. Okay, let's keep going. I'd like to mention that our next meeting, our next board meeting is February the 8th. Everybody's always welcome to join us at our meetings. Certainly they are not closed to the public. You're welcome to join by Zoom. You can also, if you can't watch them live, you can always go on to YouTube and all of our wonderful faces. You'll see our meetings and you can also stream them or watch them at any time. So, and we're always open to having you here, or if you can't watch them another time, and we're happy to talk to you or follow up. So with that, unless there's any other comments from anybody, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting. Would somebody like to put together this? Be it resolved that the Creemore BIA Board of Management meeting is adjourned at 8:46 p.m.
I second the motion.
Someone who's putting the motion forward? I
I'll
can't.
put the motion forward.
Jackie is seconding it. Thank you. So all in favor of adjourning tonight's meeting?
Aye.
Thank you so much. Motion is carried. Thanks, everyone. I so appreciate all of your time in coming out tonight and in learning more about our programs. And we look forward to working with everyone in 2022. So